How you doing today, folks? Now this knife cost $2,000. So I'm gonna be a little more anal in this video than I usually am. I'm gonna nitpick some things for sure. This is a very expensive knife. This is an art piece, but this is my channel, so you know I'm gonna use it. Furthermore, usually at the end of the videos, I say a nice, heartfelt, I love you and thank you to the community. Times right now are absolutely insane. We're on the brink of a possible civil war and everything is just nuts. So before we even get started, I just want to say a sincere, heartfelt thank you to all of you, and I love all of you. Also, my social media, via my Instagram, my Facebook, as well as my email, are all linked in the actual channel description, as well as in this actual video. If you need anything at all, any help, anyone to talk to, if you ever feel like you're completely trapped in life, please message me. When I say the words I love you and I care about you, I don't say those words lightly. If I can help you, I will. No questions asked. Just let me know how I can help. Anyways, folks, that's going to be it for right now. Enjoy the video. We haven't even gotten into the knife yet, but the presentation, holy crap. Welcome to the review of the CultroTech SVARN II. Ooh, that is buttery. Buttery. When you buy a knife from CultroTech, you can expect to have a proprietary pivot tool mailed to you. Very nice, very beautiful milling, very intricate, a very classy COA, because this is again a quality handmade custom piece. A beautiful box with some pretty crazy padding, and just overall something that very much reads class. You're probably saying to yourself, Kyle, you gargantuan ginger bastard, who cares about the box? And for that, I'm going to say when you buy a knife at this price point, you're very much looking for the overall experience. And that sounds bougie as fuck, but give me a second and I'll explain. There are knives that you can throw around and not care about. They're made in a factory. They're machined in massive bulks. They don't cost all that much to really make. They don't cost all that much to actually buy. You know, there's something that is very much a dime a dozen. You might be able to find some artificial scarce varieties of them, but for the most part, they're pretty readily available. You have things like this, which are production, somewhat hard to find sometimes, but again, they're pretty readily available. If this knife breaks, damaged, gets destroyed, I can replace it if I need to. Then you have things like this. This is a custom, it's around $1,000, but it's meant to last. It's very durable. Honestly, if it ever breaks, I can buy another one, or the warranty is fantastic. I can go and get one sent off by Demco, and I'm good to go still. And there are things like this that are one-off, limited run, made completely by hand, go for absurd amounts of money, and the vast majority of people want to keep them locked in a safe, wrapped in the blanket, put in the pillow, cloaked in prayer, and just in the most safest way possible, and more than likely never actually used, only occasionally fingered. And yes, that sounds bad, but there you go. To the vast majority of people, that's going to make no sense. And honestly, that's fine. It makes no sense to me either. But with all that being said, your philosophy of use is entirely based upon you, and if you want to keep it in a safe, more power to you. Me personally, I'm going to use it. And my God, does it use beautifully. Look at that edge. Again, I like to talk about normally the handle and everything else first, but like I just had to get this out there. This knife is an absolute laser beam. But anyways, this handle is absolutely beautiful as well. Now you have gorgeous titanium right here, which is bronze, this kind of bronzy gray like looking color, which I think is really kind of unique and very interesting. It's milled out in these perfect lines. You can tell it took so much time. You have beautiful, almost entirely void-free carbon fiber that reflects the light beautifully. It's a very nice, subtle pattern. You also have a beautiful, gorgeous, fantastic proprietary, almost kind of like biohazardy pivot. And pretty much everything aesthetically about this knife is just beautiful to look at on the lock side, as well as the presentation. This knife is gorgeous. Not only is it gorgeous, it's functional as well. If you choose to carry this knife, this clip will allow it to carry like an absolute dream. It's kind of strange, it looks almost bent, but this clip is fantastic. It has perfect retention and it slides in and out absolutely beautifully. It doesn't tear up your pocket. There's no real issues with it at all. This is one of the best clips I've ever had. I'll take a moment to talk about this backspacer. So many knife companies like to have the kind of raised up backspacer, and it's cool looking, but it always affects the ergonomics in a bad way. And this one, you cannot feel it at all. It's beautifully chamfered. Everything is very smooth. There's no hot spots, not even any rough spots or medium spots. It is absolutely perfect. And again, it's just this absolutely phenomenal piece of engineering and time that just really shows the love. That love very much transfers over to the ergonomics. This knife is absolutely perfect in hand when you have a light grip. To be very clear, this is a light use knife. If you were to hard use this knife, you will get hot spots is in right here where this little lock bar pops off. There's also a small one on this piece of the clip right here. But it's not bad by any means. Also, if you want to use this as a tactical knife, the reverse grip is not comfortable whatsoever. But again, this is not really what that knife is made for. And application of use definitely matters. As far as the actual blade, do you see that weird talking mouth in that blade? That is because this knife is what's called a stonewash mirror. Now, they have these to where they're very much super polished and you can see perfect reflections and everything else. And those to me look a little bit busy. This one is a stonewash polish in a really beautiful, very subtle fashion that is overall absolutely gorgeous to look at while being pretty easy to maintain, though it is a fingerprint magnet to be absolutely sure. Now on the presentation side, we do have a very large CultroTech logo as well as the 1/37 production number, as well as this beautiful mark right here. This thing says Heat Treatment M390 by Yanhook. I'm probably saying that name wrong, but believe me, this guy heat treats absolutely phenomenally, and this is something else that you'll get from CultroTech, which are absolutely crazy and perfect heat treats for professional heat treaters. In the intro, you guys saw the action, and to be clear, the action is absolutely phenomenal. That being said, this knife has multiple methods of deployment, right? You can either thumb flick it, middle finger flick it, or do that, and then just roll it out. Now, that's cool. And to be very clear, to make a knife that is able to do all of those things very smoothly without any resistance is honestly mind-blowing. That being said, I said at the start of the video that I'm going to be a little more anal than I usually am, and to be very clear, this is where this is going to start happening. This knife is perfectly centered out of the box, but if you want to middle finger flick it, it presses over and you can hear rub. Thumb flick it, it presses over, and you can hear rub. And I'm sorry, this is a very expensive knife. Most people aren't going to want rub on their blade, and because of that, I have only really ever done this. So this knife is a fantastic flipper, but as far as why this piece is here and how it has action for like supposed to fit every single category, it doesn't. Again, you're going to rub on your blade, you're going to eventually cause damage, and it's something that you wouldn't want to do. But again, as far as just a flipper, it's fantastic. But anything else is lackluster. Also, the closing, this thing is butter. Like, it doesn't drop immediately, but it is so incredibly smooth. It is really kind of ridiculous, and it's very fun to play with. Also, this knife is $50. This is $100. This is around $200. This is just over $1,000, and this knife is $2,000. And you can see that wiggle. Now that is what's called detent lash. That means it rocks back and forth in the scales, it goes side to side, it goes up and down, and it may or may not damage the actual blade, but again, this is a company that prides themselves on having that perfect blend of custom and production to be able to make this really kind of crazy, almost one-off, beautiful, high-end, again, $2,000 piece of cutlery. So why something that is on the very budget end would be able to fix that issue, but they can't, is really beyond me, and that's a problem. Now, the owner of this knife is a man named Antic7. Antic7 is very much a knife modder and repairer, and he's aware of this issue. Now, he contacted CultroTech to try to get this knife, basically resolved. And they said, not a problem, send it in, we'll fix it. Now, that would be okay if this knife did not belong to a company in Russia. So he would have to pay for shipping from US to Russia, which is $30 or $40 usually, as well as the actual insurance, which only actually insures it within our US borders. So as soon as it goes overseas, the insurance is completely voided, so if it happens to get lost, he's completely burned. Now, that would be bad enough, but add to the fact that, again, he repairs knives. So he messaged them and said, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. I will take complete responsibility. Send me the parts. I'll take this apart myself and mod it myself. And they said no. Now, when a knife is $2,000, you expect great presentation, great fit and finish, great ergonomics, and great customer service. So for them to say no again, is a bad thing. And once again, folks, this knife comes with a proprietary pivot tool, so it's meant to be taken apart. So really, what is the issue? Anyways, on with the review. This knife is beautiful, functional, gorgeous. Again, I'm going to keep on saying this is a hell of a looker. But how does it stack up to other knives of its caliber as well as the EDC staples of the world? Now here are some other custom and mid-tech knives, and the closest thing that stacked up to this knife would be the Rick Hinder XM24. It's not quite as heavy, it's actually nowhere near as heavy, but as far as the overall footprint in the pocket as well as that nice in-hand feel, it's pretty close to a Hinderer, and that's definitely not a bad thing. But again, it's better than the Hinderer, and that's definitely not a bad thing. Now, as far as your general EDC purposes, this is definitely on the larger end for the standards. With that being said, with the very beautiful pocket clip, very functional pocket clip, as well as the relatively light in pocket feel, honestly, this knife carries better than most of these smaller offerings. I've said a whole lot now, but what do I really think about the CultroTech SVARN II? I think it's beautiful, functional, gorgeous, ergonomically superior to almost anything I've ever carried. It's a very interesting knife. And if it was a cheaper knife, I'd recommend it all day long to everyone, because not only is it a bigger knife, it also fills that perfect EDC niche that so many people are looking for. You know, it is a bigger knife, but it feels very light in the actual pocket. The action's fantastic. The disemployment is fantastic. Disemployment, what the fuck did I just say? The disengagement feels absolutely fantastic. I don't know what I'm saying today, folks. And it really just overall is a knife that it begs to be used, but because of the price point, it probably never will be for most folks, and that really is a damn shame. And unfortunately, I have to take that fact into consideration for my overall score. Because if this knife was $200, $400, or even $800, I wouldn't have much of a problem with it. Now, the detent lash is definitely irritating. There are little pieces here and there that definitely have problems with, but they really are very minor when you compare it to how overall fantastic this knife is. With that being said though, this knife is not $200, $400, or $800. This knife is again $2,000, and for that, the problems should not be here. I would expect phenomenal fit and finish testing. I would expect them to carry each and every single one of them. Again, there's only 37 of these made. And to really understand and make sure that every single piece that leaves their factory, that leaves their hands, is phenomenal and perfect, and that's just not the case. So unfortunately, I cannot give this knife a 10. I cannot do it and be honest to you guys, even though I honestly really do love this knife. It just is not that high 10 bracket. This knife is going to be an 8.8 out of 10. Now, I've arrived at that score because of 1, customer service, 2, fit and finish, 3, the overall action of the actual knife, as well as just a general in-hand feel that is good. Honestly, it's great, but it, again, just does not qualify as perfection. To be very clear, an 8.8 is still a fantastic score. If this knife was cheaper, it would get a 10. Like, I could overlook those small things, but it's not, so unfortunately, I can't. Now, with all that being said, I would still recommend, if you can afford it, if you happen to have that big baller budget, to buy this knife. Because to be very, very clear, it's a great knife. If I could just throw around $2,000 like it was nothing, I would buy it, because it is honestly a great knife. Is it perfect? No. But it's a very good knife. It's one of the things why I talk about in my other videos about kind of the fundamental flaw of being a reviewer. I love this knife, but I can't just ignore all the flaws with it. I'm supposed to, you know, that's my job, is to point them out to you and let you know that, hey, these are the problems, this is what's wrong with the knife, this is what could be done better. And these are all things that could be done better. But to be clear, I still love this knife. If I ever find one for sale for a reasonable price and I'm in a good financial situation, I'm gonna buy it. And I'm going to use it, and you're gonna see it be beat to absolute shit and probably cringe every time you see a picture of it, because it's gonna have scratches everywhere. And that to me is my joy and my happiness. Now, with all that being said, folks, as always, I love you all. You're gonna get 2 in this video. I love you all. Up 3, there we go. I hope you all have a fantastic day, morning, or night, whatever you are doing, have a fantastic one. I appreciate you. I love you. There's 4. And I hope you just have a great day and a great life. And whatever you are doing, you succeed at. Take a moment to love yourself the way I love you and experience the joy in life. As always, folks, take care and bye.